What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stokastic.com NFL Showdown live before lock, presented by No House Advantage. I believe my first live before lock this season. Been doing a lot of deeper dives, but we're here. 3-man crew on an NBA Thursday, but football's not going anywhere. We're double streaming here. So we got NBA still rocking, but for those of you diehard NFL fans like myself and my two co-hosts today, we're here all the way up until 8:15. Got you covered for an hour and 15 minutes. Going to break everything down position by position. Anyway, I'm Dave Loughran at Lafayette_D. Hit your boy up on Twitter, LOUGHY_D. And joining me, as always, Neil Orfield. Some people, I'm not saying who, but some people may call this man the Showdown Shaman. He's going to guide us to the promised land. See what I mean?
Spreading. I saw it in another YouTube, by the way. Somebody called me the Showdown Shaman. So yeah.
I love it. All right. So this is going to catch on, huh?
It's catching on. Yeah.
It's better. Someone tried to steal my thunder, calling you the Showdown Samurai, even super chatted. Right. So I had to say it.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. And also Matt Savoca, like I said, 3-man crew at Draftaholic. Matt and I do the Showdown our matchups, marathon matchup show every Thursday. He told me Eric took over today. Apparently did a very solid job. So I'm happy to hear that. What's going on, brother? New Orleans Saints, Arizona Cardinals.
It's going to be a fun one. And I think I will say the slogan for all Showdown slates in 2022, the way things have been going, even if they're not on the slate, I think the slogan for all Showdown slates in 2022, Broncos country, let's ride. It's been that kind of ugliness. Hopefully it's not tonight. This one actually has some scoring potential.
He's become so cringy.
You know, you don't think he always was?
It's right.
You don't think it's worse since he came to death? I don't know. Maybe I'm completely
It's probably worse. It is probably worse.
I could be wrong. It feels worse. Maybe because they're losing. And
that is it. That's right? It, Laffy. If they were winning, no one would care. Yeah. They would explain it away.
Yep. Because you can be as corny as you want if you're going to the playoffs every year. But now that you're throwing for -9 yards in the second half, everyone's like, let's ride. What the hell is this shit?
Then they're going back to the Mr. Unlimited. I still cannot believe he put that out and thought that was like a normal thing to do. I
saw on the McAfee show too that he has this football, like the Russell Wilson football, and it's supposed to be, have like the wings on it and stuff and be great. And apparently it's just the worst football ever made. So just L's across the board. Happy to have you guys with us though. Hit that thumbs up. You know the drill. I mean, a 29 thumbs up, 350 people watching right now. What did we do to you guys to make you hate us so much?
It's not great.
It's not
We're getting
right.
ratioed.
What?
We're getting ratioed right now. We can fix it.
We're getting like ratioed. You're absolutely right. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate you guys. It only takes a second, but it does help us a ton. So if you like this content and you would like to atone for your sins here and help us appease the YouTube overlords, just one simple click. And if you hate it, click that thumbs down twice. Make sure you do it twice. All right, let's get into it, fellas. Sorry. All right. We got quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. Then we'll go defense, kicker to close this out. And we'll build a lineup at the end because it's fun. So quarterback, Matt, I'll kick it off with you. This is one where in New Orleans, normally it'd be like, all right, we're talking about 2 quarterbacks today. No, sir. I mean, FanDuel, sure, we can get into whatever. But DraftKings, Taysom Hill has to be in the conversation. He's insanely hit or miss, boom or bust, however you want to call it. Let's actually start with Taysom Hill and your thoughts on how you value him at his salary today against the Cardinals.
He has to get there on such extreme efficiency, and he's not going to be unpopular. So in a nutshell, can he get there? Yes. Do I expect him to? No. Compared to salary-based expectations, it's just too high of a salary. I can't project it, but at the same time, I keep seeing him rush for 8 yards a carry or just find his way into the end zone 3 or 4 times in a game. Look, players don't have upside. We don't have that many players to choose from with 30-point, 40-point even upside in a one-game slate. And Taysom Hill has it, but the probability remains low and the salary remains high. So I think there's some incongruency there. He's not my favorite, but he's not an absolute stay away option either.
I get it. He is I hate Taysom Hill showdown slates because you're not getting him particularly cheap, Neil. He's not super expensive, but this is the same guy that, and Matt kind of pointed it out a second ago. When he does carry the ball, he's picking up like 40-yard chunks. He had a huge game in week 5 against Seattle, which negated basically everyone else on the New Orleans Saints. And now you've got him coming off a week where he was, extremely pedestrian, but still 4 attempts throwing, 5 attempts rushing, a long of 31 yards. How do you, as someone who has had a lot of success with showdowns, approach a guy like Taysom Hill, who's basically the biggest outlier we'll get all season on any single game slate?
I mean, it's very ownership dependent with a guy like Taysom Hill. He is, I think, the hardest player to project in all of football. He has to be, right? Because you don't have any other player out there who's, he's listed as a tight end, but he's had 1 target the entire year. But then he's had 27 rushes, something like that, 5 passing attempts. You just never know how they're going to use Taysom. So 7,200, you look at his snap count and you're like, well, that's insane. That's way too expensive for Taysom Hill. But they also use him in the red zone. They use him in so many different ways. He's up to 13.3% projected ownership now. It wouldn't even surprise me if it gets to be higher than that, just because Taysom Hill is kind of everybody's darling. Everybody wants to play Taysom Hill. If he gets too much higher, I think he's going to be a big fade for me. Earlier when I wrote my article a couple hours ago, 3 hours ago, he was at 9.5% projected ownership. So it's come up a little bit. I don't like it quite as much now as I did when he was below 10% projected ownership, but I still think he's in play for me at 13%. I'll probably be slightly under the field there. I think he can score in so many different ways. They like to use him in the red zone. It's tough for me to, full fade a guy who they like to use the way they use Taysom.
And this would be an entirely different conversation on FanDuel if it was, say, like even a 2-game slate where you had to play a tight end.
Right.
I mean, he would be the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Probably. Sure, you have Ertz and all, but but now you don't have to concern yourself too much with that. I don't know, Matt. I guess the problem I'm having is you look at Taysom Hill and immediately you go, if I don't play him, this could ruin my night. Like it's there. I'm not even saying one way or another what's the appropriate answer, but Taysom Hill is that one outlier in the sense that 1 or 2 plays and you go, well, I don't have him, and it's going to be a Taysom Hill night.
It's funny. It's I think our project manager Sky used this phrase when we were all together in Chicago. We were talking about the product going forward, and it's like it's good as you build out to go, what fucks me, what ruins me.
Yeah.
Taysom Hill. As you're building out, I still don't think Taysom Hill makes a lot of sense. He definitely could ruin you tonight. Just in terms of red zone target share or anything like that, red zone opportunity share, it doesn't look spectacular, but here's the thing that I would say. If he didn't have a blow-up game 2 weeks ago, maybe it was 4, 5, 6 weeks ago, and it was less on people's mind, I think we would just see natural ownership deflation. It's too close in the past for people to forget. And that we're already seeing people in chat saying Hill is too good to fade. That's going to naturally boost his ownership, maybe even more than the numbers are saying.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. There's definitely recency bias, but at the same time, you have a situation where they're so limited as far as weapons go. Like if Thomas and Jarvis were both active today, I think I'd be like, okay, you don't really need to get a ton of Taysom Hill reps in there. Let's not forget that game that he went off, right? It was no Thomas, Jarvis, or Olave, right?
Mm-hmm. Sounds right.
So you do have Olave. That helps. But, oh, no, I'm sorry. Olave did play, but he only played 40% of snaps because he had the concussion on the touchdown in the end zone. But I'm just wondering, do you find more ways to try and get him involved, given that your weapons are so limited? But, Neil, like you said, you're playing this as a strict ownership game here, right?
Yeah, exactly right. It's just if Taysom gets up to 20% ownership, I think that it would make a lot of sense to fade him. At 13%, that seems about efficient to me. That's probably about where I would want to be. I'm not taking a huge stand one way or the other. I think I'll probably be a little bit under the field at 13% ownership, but not massively under.
The fact that he's 0.3% owned in the captain spot, though,
that's more interesting.
Really interesting, right? Because what if you're in a large field tournament and you've talked often about playing lineups that, you're getting wildly different in some spots. I really thought that he would be at least a couple percent at the captain spot. 0.3 is very low.
Yeah, no, I hadn't noticed the 0.3% projected ownership in the captain spot. I actually, after you said that, I'm building my lineups, of course, now. I usually don't have to do this, but since we're going to be live until lock, I'm building my lineups as we're talking. I just gave him a thumbs up in Fantasy Cruncher because I want more of Taysom Hill at captain. Because, I mean, I think that, as we've said, he's not projectable at all, but we also know that Taysom Hill is a guy who could score multiple touchdowns in the game. Every time he scores a touchdown, he's somebody else is not scoring a touchdown for the Saints. He, doesn't correlate really with anybody on the Saints. So I like him in the captain spot.
Matt, Ghetto Farmer Boy asked an interesting question here. And understandably, you're not very high on Taysom Hill today. But he said, could you play Dalton and Hill in the same lineup?
Yeah, I guess you can. I probably wouldn't do it in the largest field tournaments, right? Because both of them reaching a true ceiling game probably means the other, it just seems so low probability. One of them reaching their true ceiling means the other one probably didn't. Do you disagree there at all, Neil? Basically, Taysom Hill gets there through goal line success, which would necessarily mean that Andy Dalton wouldn't have goal line success unless somehow Taysom Hill is just catching all the passes now, which I guess is a theoretical possibility since Adam Troutman is out. But I think that's just going to be more for some other players we'll mention once we get to the tight end position, the regular tight end position.
I was going to say, he has not been used as a pass catcher at all so far. It wouldn't shock me though if they do line him up as a pass catcher. They just, they like to get weird with Taysom. So I think that they are viable together. I do hear what you're saying though. He's not typically, as you say, he has not been used as a pass catcher the way most players you want to pair with Andy Dalton are. So there is definitely negative correlation, at least the way he's been used so far. There is negative correlation there, but I still think that it's viable to have them in the same lineup just because it is Showdown in particular. Probably not something I would do on a main slate or even maybe a 2-game slate, but on a Showdown slate, I think you can if you're playing 150 lineups. It's probably not the first thing I would do if you're only playing 20 lineups. It is a pretty unlikely outcome that both Taysom and Andy Dalton get there.
Neil, what do we want to do? And yeah, there's some cannibalization there for sure. Just given that, thank you guys, he's not really being used as a pass catcher right now. I assume it's possible, but really the rushing upside and him passing, anytime that's the case, Andy Dalton's not involved.
Right.
What about Dalton, Neil? I mean, he's starting. We know that, he's good to go. Jameis, it makes sense that Jameis, they're just waiting until, they got a long layoff after this. So you got like 11 days until you play again, assuming they're going to make Jameis the starter. I think they will. Can make sure he's completely healed up. Do you like Dalton in this spot at his price point? And we can talk about the tools as well.
So he looks pretty good in the tools in the flex spot. Dalton looks over-owned in the captain spot. Actually, I was misreading, but he is also true for Andy Dalton. He's pretty neutral in the captain spot. 6.2% projected ownership, 5.9% optimal, 37% ownership in the util, 42% optimal. So positive leverage in the utility spot. The way I'm building right now, I can actually say because I'm building, it looks like I'm probably going to be under the field on Dalton just because I'm getting different in other spots. I am playing some Taysom. I'm probably going to be under the field on Dalton, but actually not by a ton. Looks like I'll be getting close to the field. It's the hard thing with Dalton is because they like to bring Taysom in the red zone. Like they like to, look at different options with Taysom in the red zone. So Andy Dalton sometimes doesn't have the same guaranteed opportunities that some other quarterbacks might have. So I hate to see that. I'm going to be playing a ton of Kyler too. So I think I'm going to be under the field on Dalton, but he looks like a pretty good play in the flex spot in particular.
What about you, Matt?
Look, it's the quarterback on a 1-game slate principle. We just outline why it could go wrong, especially with a dynamic player who we can't even guess from week to week how they're going to be used in Taysom Hill, cannibalizing Andy Dalton's ceiling potential. But a quarterback on a 1-game slate has a better chance than most of scoring 30 to 40 points, and especially on FanDuel where there's no salary modifier, we might want to consider that for our captain or MVP spot. Look, he's in the optimal lineup more often than he's expected to be played. He's a decent leverage play. Even at the captain spot, he's basically right at even. And he's a coin flip chance to be in the optimal lineup in some way tonight. It's not sexy. It's not cool. But Arizona's defense is bad enough to let Andy Dalton succeed.
Yeah. Dalton can still get it done. Then the question becomes, we'll get to wide receiver, but then the question becomes like, yeah, you have Kamara and Olave, and then have fun, fellas.
Right.
I gotta say,
Smith.
I told you I was under on Dalton. I just ran another crunch and now I'm slightly over. So it kind of is changing crunch to crunch whether I'm going to be close to the field, I think.
Are you over or under on Dalton in the captain spot compared to what we have at 6.4%?
In my last crunch, I'm actually over the field on Dalton.
Interesting.
Yeah. Kind of significantly too. Probably because of the way I do my groups. I give boosts to receivers when I have Dalton in the captain spot, which then makes me naturally get to more of Dalton in the captain spot. But I typically don't mind that, even though I know that effect is happening because of my groups. I typically don't mind it because I like playing quarterbacks in the captain spot. As Matt just alluded to, quarterbacks always have the upside to throw multiple touchdowns and be the optimal captain. So currently getting to a good amount of Dalton in the captain.
All right. So get to these super chats in a second. I want to finish quarterbacks here. On the other side, you have, it's just a whirlwind of madness in Arizona right now, Matt. Cliff Kingsbury said in an interview when asked if he would give up play calling duties, he's like, yeah, if it's the best thing for the team. One, that's not a question you are asked when things are going well. Okay. That's generally a question
that's
you're
so
asked.
True.
Yeah, right. Like, that's only a question you're asked when things are going very, very poorly. Which is why this is a do or die game for them for sure. Not in the sense that everything's over, but for Cliff Kingsbury at home, 2.5-point favorites against a banged up Saints team. And make no mistake about it. If you look at the standings right now, they are one game back in the division, despite how bad they've been. There is not a team above 500 in the NFC West right now. There is not a team above 500 in the NFC South right now. So a good game could do Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury quite well here. And the Saints defense, their secondary, they're without Marshawn Lattimore, but this secondary has really failed to live up to expectations this year as far as limiting opposing passers.
Yeah, absolutely. The Saints secondary has been honestly pretty bad. And for all the publicity that the Marshawn Lattimore, Mike Evans thing, got, honestly, it's just been an underwhelming defensive unit this year. They have a minus 17-point differential. That they're 15th ranked defense. Honestly, both of these defenses have holes. At least New Orleans has shown the ability to sometimes get to the quarterback, which could force Kyler to scramble. That's really what we're looking for, right? With Kyler Murray, it's the rushing upside and the rushing ceiling that helps propel him to getting there based on his salary-based expectations. As a passer, they've been pretty darn bad. In fact, Football Outsiders right now in offensive DVOA, Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are bottom 5 in the NFL.
Are they bottom 5?
I believe so. Here, let me look right now. The Cardinals passing offense, just passing, is 27th in DVOA and 32nd in yards per attempt.
Whew. All right. What are you doing here, Neil?
With Kyler?
Yeah.
I'm playing a ton of Kyler. Sorry, was it Kyler or the defense you were talking about?
Kyler.
Oh, yeah, Kyler, I'm playing all over the place. He's going to be in the vast majority of my lineups in one way or another tonight. He just is a top projected play on the slate by a good amount. Maybe I'll cut back slightly. I currently have him like 94% of my lineups. I probably don't want 94% Kyler, but he is just by far the top projected play on the slate. So my guess is I'll probably end up somewhere around 80% when all things are all is said.
Okay. We had a question, super chat, as a matter of fact. Do you think that Andy Dalton throws for over 200? I think it was 16 yards today. Well, a couple things. Number one, we have I'm assuming this is a prop question. We have the player prop tool. It's free. We have Odd Shopper. It's free. All of that stuff. Definitely take advantage of it for sure. What do we have him at? Let's see. We have him projected at 213.5. I'll say this much too. Our sponsor, No House Advantage, right now has the line at what, 254, I think, on that, Matt. Yeah, they have the Andy Dalton passing yards prop at 254.5.
Did they just take Winston's line and just insert Andy Dalton's name?
I think that'd be a lot of it was Winston, even with this offense. I don't know.
Yeah. And look, on our free No House Advantage tool right now, that is the second highest confidence simulated win percentage.
The under.
The under there. Yeah. Good pointing that out. But that's so different than the line. It looks like it would be almost an exact coin flip chance of that happening. So if you had like minus 105, if you're looking at that, that would be fair, a fair line there. It's basically a coin flip, 50% almost on the nose.
Yeah. If you want to get the best prop advantage, you go to No House Advantage because the props are static. They don't change, right? So like if DeAndre Hopkins opened at 55.5 and then it moved everywhere else to 70, not to say anything's going to move that much, but you get the point. You're still getting 55.5 and you're getting a $50 first match deposit bonus when you sign up using the link in the description. Tyler, throw one of those into the chat as well. Take advantage of it. I mean, the format's awesome. You're just building lineups. You're building lineups, taking props, and you're building lineups with them, and you're playing against the field as you would anywhere else. DraftKings, FanDuel, Yahoo. The overlay, though, like I could say all the things in the world about how the format is awesome, and how all of the research and everything you do for main slates or showdown slates is entirely applicable for No House Advantage. So you don't have to do any extra work, and we have all the free tools. But the overlay has been crazy. I think Sunday, because we had someone screenshot us that he took first place in the No House Advantage contest for a good amount of money too. It filled 48%, Neil.
Yeah, I mean, you got to chase overlay where you can find it. You're just reminding me one more thing I need to do before the end of the show is I need to go and throw some lineups into No House Advantage before 7:15. Man, this is going to be a stressful show for me trying to talk while I'm making all my lineups, and now I'm throwing in no. But if you're not on a show right now, that's the first place you should be putting your money, is somewhere you can find 50% overlay. I don't know if it's going to be that high tonight, but it's probably going to be high, and you got to chase it while they're giving you that kind of offer.
No doubt, as the politicians say, and I hate it. You got to walk and chew gum at the same time tonight, Neil.
That's right. I'm trying here.
Links in the description, pin comment. Again, No House Advantage projections are free. Our optimal lineups for No House Advantage are free. And they have a lineup generator, like a bulk lineup generator over at No House Advantage to take it, to use for your edge. Put in the ones you like most. Just don't do it. Neil did the other day and have like 100%.
Yeah, be a little bit careful. Be more thoughtful about how you're doing it.
What did you have? 100% of who?
No, so I went into the props. They have a multi lineup generator. So I just went in and I had it was 2 minutes before lock. I didn't even look at any of our data or anything. And I was just like, I like the under here. I like the over here. But then I chose 9 different props. And of course I was wrong on 6 of them. So it was just I didn't have any lineup that had more than 3 correct.
But if you were right on 6 of those,
I would have crushed it. Yeah.
You would have crushed.
What a day.
So I'd say, but you got it. You were chasing the overlay, man. I get
exactly. It didn't occur to me that I could just get everything wrong. And even with the overlay, I'm just going to lose everything.
All right, check it out. Very cool site. Love to have you guys use it, and get your $50 first match deposit bonus too. Set yourself up nicely over there at No House Advantage. Anything else, guys? Murray, Dalton, Taysom, or you want to move on? We got a lot to get into here.
I think we move on.
All right, let's talk running backs. Matt, Alvin Kamara. Can we agree that the people that were like, "Oh, the guy's washed," were, you want to talk about the most reactionary people out there? Forget about the rib injury to a running back. That guy's done. He looks so good since he got healthy and since he took those couple weeks off. Alvin Kamara looks like old Alvin Kamara, and I'm loving this. And I love that Andy Dalton's at quarterback because he's going to throw to him. And without Thomas and without Jarvis Landry, you definitely know he's going to throw to him tonight. I know we have him with a pretty high negative leverage or a pretty low leverage score, but he's such a difference maker.
Exactly. Just get Kamara the football. The way they win this football game is if one or both of Alvin Kamara or Chris Olave
100%
outperform their expectations. Target share, 3rd best in the NFL among all running backs, 8th in total targets for Alvin Kamara. That's missing a game, by the way. He's 13th in total yards created. That's yards he's gained after the offensive line has finished doing their job. He missed a game in yards created per touch. He's up to top 20 in the NFL. I'm just seeing so many good things. And expected fantasy points per game, his opportunity value, 4th best in the NFL. The target share should be there. Obviously, the red zone opportunities are stymied a little bit when players like Taysom Hill are going off. But if we're going to get a 9-target game and we have a 9-target ceiling like we had last week, it's all systems go for this dude. I mean, 120 plus yards, total yards in back-to-back games. I don't think it's crazy to say he does it again here.
Me neither. I'm on over 98.5 rushing plus receiving today as well. So it seems like you and I are pretty much aligned here. Let's see where Neil is. Matt mentioned a lot of it, Neil, but how about this? Alvin Kamara over his last 2 games, 29 touches, 29 looks, 29 touches. And then the game after that against Cincinnati, 25 touches, 28 total looks. That's just massive volume.
Yeah, in the 2 games that Alvin Kamara has been active with Andy Dalton starting, he's been targeted 15 times total, 9 times in the first game and then 6 times in the second. So he's being targeted more by Andy Dalton. He doesn't look good in our tools at all, which is counter to the way I'm approaching. I actually gave him the thumbs up in the captain spot, which is he doesn't look good in the captain spot in particular. He actually looks good in the flex spot. In the captain spot, we have him owned 13% of the time, optimal 6% of the time. So on DraftKings, we have him over-owned in the captain spot, but then he looks good in the utility spot, project for 42% ownership, 44% optimal. So some positive leverage in the utility spot. I just think that Alvin Kamara can do it on his own. He can get, 7, 8, 9 catches in a game. I think that he's certainly live to be the optimal captain. I guess so does the field, and that makes sense. What else do you say about him? I had missed the narrative that people were saying Alvin Kamara was washed. Of course they were. That's what people say about any player who goes through a bad stretch. But no, he's a great running back. He's still one of the best in the game. I like Alvin Kamara. I'm actually going to be closer to the field in the captain spot. I'm going to be a little bit under in the utility spot, which is counter to the tools. So it's probably the incorrect approach. It's just because I'm leaving salary on the table. So it's harder for me to have him in a majority of my lineups.
And to be fair, I do a lot of these shows. It could have been stuff I read in the comments and,
sure.
In chat, whatever, or on Twitter. So, but it was definitely out there. Neil, you mentioned the targets, 29% target share over the last 2 games for Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, it's a great sign. And having Andy Dalton named the starter helps a lot.
It's fantastic. Matt, on the other side of this one, though, you've got Eno Benjamin, almost 90% of snaps last week with no James Conner, with no Darrell Williams. That'll be the case today in terms of not having those guys out there. Right. Do you think we see the same workload from Benjamin?
Yeah, I'm ready to think that this is a pretty solid option today against the Saints defense that ultimately is dealing with a couple of injuries and also just not quite as good as their reputation that precedes them. If you just talk to a casual fan who's paid attention to the NFL, what are they going to say about the Saints defense? Great defensive line. Stop the run. They're okay. They're 14th in DVOA. They're league average. They're just nothing to write home about. 20th in yards allowed per carry. That can be a little bit variable still at this point in the season. But ultimately, if you're going to tell me somebody gets a 90% snap share in a game that's hovering around a 44-point total and they're favored to win at home, just straight DFS fundamentals say that player is in play. And the salary is not too much, especially when you're comparing it to players like Alvin Kamara. Eno Benjamin is one of those players that has that sneaky 25 to 30 point upside, whereas it's much more obvious on the other side with Kamara or even a player like Olave.
How do you feel, Neil, about just obviously, I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, but how are you approaching? Will you have a lot of lineups with both Kamara and Eno Benjamin in them?
Yeah, I will. I mean, just because it's a single game slate, maybe I don't love it as much on a main slate to have both running backs in the same game. But I certainly think it's viable in this game where they're just 2 of the top projected plays on the slate. I have no issue with having them in the same lineup.
How are you approaching Eno Benjamin? Again, I think we're all going to be pretty heavily invested in Eno Benjamin tonight. If not because we think he's great, and I don't think any of us are out there saying that, but more so, he's just not that expensive. I mean, he's $8,200 for a guy that is going to be, seeing voluminous workload in that backfield. What more can you really ask for, right?
Yeah, I mean, especially at running back, opportunity is king. I mean, wide receiver, we had this conversation on one of our shows last week that typically with wide receivers, talent wins out. With running backs, it's really just who has the best opportunity. And Eno Benjamin has a great opportunity. He gets so many looks for the Cardinals. He has been involved in the passing game in the past. He's 8,200. So I'm going to have a ton of Eno Benjamin. Again, coming back to, I do leave salary on the table. So it's easier for me to fit Eno Benjamin in lineups than Alvin Kamara. Eno Benjamin even projects slightly better than Alvin Kamara. So sure, would I love to have Alvin Kamara in more lineups than Eno Benjamin, even with the projection? I think I probably would. But when you factor in that $2,400 price savings on DraftKings, I'm just going to end up with a lot more Eno Benjamin. Trust the projections, trust the workload that he gets, and hope that he gets into the end zone.
Matt, are you in on Keontae Ingram or on Melvin? Melvin Gordon gets opportunities. You know,
Mark Ingram.
Melvin Gordon, Mark Ingram, mind mesh.
Sorry. I still got Melvin Gordon on my mind from that shit show the other night.
It's brutal.
Yeah, Melvin Gordon. Hey, there is a Melvin Ingram though. There is a Melvin Ingram, so we're not that far off. What do you want to do with Mark Ingram and Keontae Ingram?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we got Battle of the Ingrams here.
When I just said that, I paused because I was like, "Wait, did I screw it up?"
Look at that. That's fun.
Yeah.
Hey, we're talking about players on a single game slate who are going to get 25 to 50% of the snap share. They're going to see about 5 to 10 routes. They're going to get approximately 8 to a maximum of 12 carries. That is extremely viable on a one-game slate. Is it the most likely thing? No, we're talking about the running back 50 in opportunity share. The running back 52 among all running backs this year in total targets. He's at 8 total targets. But we've seen Kamara get banged up this year already. We know that Ingram would be the next guy up. He's probably the one that I'm most interested in because, you know, let's say even, you know, there's just a drive or a quarter that Kamara has to sit. They need playmakers, and at least Ingram has proven that he can take a large snap share and be decently viable with it. It's not my favorite here, but I think I will say I like it better than Keontae Ingram. I still think Corey Clement sees like 10 to 15 snaps that just annoys people more than does anything good for fantasy.
Yeah, that's never fun at all. And Corey Clement's not, listen, I'll always love Corey Clement for
part of that Super Bowl team. Yeah.
Yep. Eagles. Well, he had some big plays too. Remember, he ripped off a huge catch and run against the Patriots in the Super Bowl. So I'll always be very appreciative of Corey Clement, but not tonight. Get him out of there. A couple super chats. Jillian Sullivan, Eno in the captain in the millie, or is that too risky? No, it's not. No, listen, if he can have 20 plus touches tonight and all of the pass catching work in the backfield, it's not too risky at all. Not millie, but the showdown 50K to first. No, right? I mean, that changes nothing.
No, yeah, it doesn't change anything for me.
Play him.
Yeah, perfectly fine there. I guess that's it at running back, right? We got them covered.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Corey Clement as somebody who is in play. I do want to say I like Ingram even better on FanDuel at 7,500. The price tag is a little bit better, and then he's only projected for 4.5% ownership. So I say the price tag is better just relative to those around him. I think I like him a little bit better on FanDuel, and it is more because it is not PPR. It's just half PPR on FanDuel. I think that he's more likely to pay off that price tag with just one touchdown and a 4.5% ownership. So I really like Mark Ingram's. I'm saying on FanDuel. Yeah,
David Demaria, fellas, where's Taysom Hill owned at captain on DraftKings? Well, I will tell you at what did we say? 0.6%, I think it was.
0.3 last time you said.
Yeah, it's under 1%.
But David, and I appreciate the super chat. He just gave us $2. Let me save you some money and some pain. We got the hardwood promo going on. Hardwood, not hardwood. Hardwood. Okay. Be very careful when you say that.
No spaces.
Okay? I'm saying the wife asked, like, "Oh, where's this $10 come from?" You're like, "Oh, hardwood." She goes, "That's odd.
Yeah.
You need to sit down." But if you go,
I request elaboration.
Yeah, exactly. You go, "Oh, the hardwood promo at Stokastic where you get 10 days for $10 and all of our tools, all the ownership, the top plays tool that Neil and Matt and I are referencing throughout the show. the best showdown tool you're going to get. Player projections for every sport. And for what it's worth, which is a lot, this is not just football, right? If you're watching football, this is for basketball. This is for baseball. This is for hockey. This is for PGA, MMA. If they have contests out there on these sites, we have content for them. Everything you can think of, all of our tools, not Fantasy Cruncher. We don't own Fantasy Cruncher. We just host it, but we have the NFL and NBA lineup generator, which is sick. It generate up to as many lineups as you want. You can save and export up to 20 each session, export to CSV. Massive come up, especially for you guys that, might be hand builders or playing 20 max or 10 max. It's sick. $10, 10 days. Everything, all of our tools, $1 a day. You lose $10 in your sleep, right? This is at least something where you can say, I can make money off of this. So, hey, if you're going to super chat us, instead of doing so, well, we have the 1v1 and 2v2 tool, which is free. If you're going to super chat us asking about that stuff, again, appreciate it. But go ahead, use the hardwood promo. Links in the description and the chat right now that Tyler can throw in there. Make your life a whole lot easier. So check it out over there at Stokastic.com. All right. Larry loves when I do the Fantasy Cruncher disclaimer. Yeah, I try and do it like they do in the Have you guys heard I think I asked Neil this, the DraftKings commercial where they list 100 phone numbers at the end of it on the radio? It's insane.
I have not.
You haven't?
No.
Matt, you haven't?
We talked about this. I think
it must have been us too. Okay.
Yeah. Because every state has their own hotline.
Every state
and
has
they've got like a little line that they've written up. And you're really going there. And it's turning into like the prescription medicine commercials.
Exactly. Right.
First of all, can I go on a little diatribe there? Do we have time? Why am I asking my doctor about certain medicines? Why am I supposed to ask my doctor about, Clubovetra? I don't know.
It's fair. It's a fair question.
Because if the pharmaceutical reps got to him, he might offer it to you.
Why can't he say, hey, you're dealing with this. You need a medicine, like the normal doctor-patient relationship. I don't know. Okay, we can talk about football again.
Yeah, I thought you were going to go on a heavy diatribe, but that was just pondering.
That's reasonable.
Tangent.
Yeah.
All right, wide receivers. Neil, I got to tell you, man, DeAndre Hopkins, if you put the pieces together here, Kingsbury's in trouble, right? They got no Kirk anymore. He's in Jacksonville. They're floundering. You got no Marquise Brown. He's out for at least a month. You got Rondell Moore, who catches every pass behind the line of scrimmage, and then kind of just a possession guy in Zach Ertz. So when Cliff Kingsbury, Matt and I were talking about this before the show started, when Kingsbury goes, I'll let Matt say. Matt, I think, had a better idea of what he said, but I know it was basically like, well, we don't know how much he's going to play. We'll see. He wants to play a lot. The guy was suspended. He wasn't hurt. This isn't a new team. He played in this offense before. Why in the world would he not come back out and get as much opportunity as I personally love DeAndre Hopkins tonight?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm going to be playing plenty of DeAndre Hopkins. I think he comes in. He's immediately the alpha for the Cardinals. He looks good in our tools. He looks a little bit over-owned. So we've got him projected for 8.2% ownership in the captain spot, 6% optimal, 32% ownership in the util spot, 31% optimal. I think that you're using DeAndre Hopkins essentially how you would if he had been playing all season. Is this kind of how I'm approaching it? I'm not really taking a big stand one way or another with DeAndre Hopkins. I think he's going to be the wide receiver one for the Cardinals. We're missing Marquise Brown now. Now they're adding Robbie Anderson to the mix. It's an interesting situation for the Cardinals in general. Just the wide receiver situation is a little bit hard to decipher, especially with the rumors of what they're saying about Robbie Anderson kind of throwing me off a little bit. I don't know exactly what to expect in terms of Robbie Anderson's usage here, but DeAndre Hopkins, I think he's probably, even if he's not playing every snap, I think that he is going to be targeted when he's out there.
No Marshawn Lattimore either, Matt. And how about this Arizona team or New Orleans team when it comes to wide receiver ones this year?
So, wait, so you're saying we're talking about Hopkins still, right?
Yeah, no.
Yeah. I think this team needs DeAndre Hopkins in a bad way.
Agreed.
And I think this is all gamesmanship with Cliff Kingsbury, as you were kind of alluding to, where he said, Well, we don't know on a short week how much we can really put him into the offense. You brought up all the points why that is absolute baloney. DeAndre Hopkins is going to be just fine. Can we predict a first game breakout? No, we absolutely can't. But honestly, this role is needed, especially with Marquise Brown on IR now. Marquise Brown was a top 5 wide receiver in expected fantasy points, or just an opportunity value. And so you're losing that part of the offense. I think you see some of it get filled by Rondale Moore and Robbie Anderson come on slowly. But when Gajeski and I were breaking this down in the strategy show this morning, one of our narratives about the way that they want to use Robbie Anderson is to eventually fill the role that AJ Green currently has, because AJ Green is doing nothing with that role. That has nothing to do with how DeAndre Hopkins could have a ceiling game here. If there's going to be one spot where I go against the tools, where I go rogue, it's going to be on DeAndre Hopkins tonight. It just makes too much sense. I think I like him a lot.
I'm with you. I'm hammering the over prop on. Honestly, I hit it at 59.5 yesterday, but at 62.5, I still have very little issue with that. Matt, how do you think? And we've heard some talk about how they're going to use Robbie Anderson tonight. How do you think they use him tonight, and how viable is he?
Go deep, run fast in a straight line. Right? He's been there on a short week. I would be shocked if he played 25% of snaps, but that doesn't mean he can't have a high target per snap rate tonight. I just don't think he knows any nuances of the offense. How can you really expect him to? You might see them scheme up 1 or 2 looks for him just to sort of get his feet under him, but it's a very low ceiling probability.
Neil, what about you?
Yeah, I think it will to go there. So I mean, the quote was something like, they want to use him, or they want to, what was the quote exactly? They think that he will be involved on 10 to 15 plays at a minimum, and then they'll see how it goes from there. Maybe they'll play more than 10 to 15. So I think that, he has the ceiling for more than 25% snap share. As Matt says, it's probably not very likely, but he at least has that ceiling. And yeah, as Matt said, he can play the role that he plays anywhere, and he is a home run threat. So I like Robbie Anderson at very limited ownership. I'm working on FanDuel now, so I'm gonna look at my FanDuel ownership. I wonder if it's much different. Okay, we've got him at 0% ownership. That's probably not gonna pan out there. It's gonna be more than that, but we had him at single digit ownership, like 5% on DraftKings as well. We've got him at 6.5% ownership on DraftKings. I'm gonna be above the field at 5,600 just because he is that home run threat. He'll pay it off with 1 touchdown. I like Robbie Anderson at that ownership tonight.
What do you like more, right? Robbie Anderson at 5,600 or AJ Green at 2,600?
Pretty similar to me. I think I prefer AJ Green, to be honest, just because of the price tag. And I think that he is more likely to see more snaps, more targets than Robbie Anderson. So yeah, just in a vacuum, I do think that I prefer AJ Green at 2,600 to Robbie Anderson at 5,600, but I'm going to be above the field on both of them. And Robbie Anderson does come in at about half the ownership, a little bit more than half the ownership of AJ Green. So once you factor in ownership, it gets closer. I still think I prefer AJ Green, but it's not too far off.
Green played 70% of snaps in both week 5 and 6, 74 in week 5 against Philly, almost 73 exactly against Seattle last week. Look, it hasn't resulted in huge numbers, but we've had 4 out of 5 games he's been targeted at least 4 times. 2 out of 5 games he's been targeted 5 or more times. And, we've seen at least 2 games where he's gotten red zone targets. Again, not crazy upside, but it's enough usage on a 1-game slate to say he's viable. I don't know how much gets taken away from him in this exact game.
Neil, I want to ask you one thing just from a game theory standpoint, right? On DraftKings, obviously in a vacuum, Rondale Moore is a much better play than Robbie Anderson. He's going to be on the field for a ton of play for almost every snap. They're basically the same price. How much leverage, how much of a difference does it make if Robbie Anderson happens to catch a long touchdown at the same price as Moore, and Moore doesn't have a big game? When you look at the contrast in ownership, and again, I don't know the answer to this, but you have Robbie Anderson at like 6% in the utility right now, Rondale Moore at 37, and they're separated by $200.
Yeah, exactly. our tools don't. Our tools would say that Rondale Moore is the pretty clear play, even at their ownership. But I think that the projections are fragile. Maybe the even the simulations here for Robbie Anderson, it's really hard to predict his range of outcomes here, because if you are predicting him for 10 to 15 snaps, what they said they want to get him involved in at least 10 to 15 snaps with upside for more if things click. So I think that there is upside there with Robbie Anderson, with Rondale Moore getting approximately a little bit less than 6 times the ownership that Rondale Moore getting approximately 6 times the ownership that Robbie Anderson is getting. I don't know that he's 6 times more likely to boom. I don't know. I think I'm going to be close to the field on Rondale Moore, because I do think that he has a really pretty high chance of succeeding here, but I'm going to be above the field on Robbie Anderson. So I don't know to what extent that answers your question, but I think that Robbie Anderson's chances of success are a little bit greater than his ownership would suggest.
No, I think it answers it perfectly fine. You're saying you like Rondale Moore at that price, but you still, just because Robbie Anderson is basically the same price doesn't mean you don't want any of him, just because you're going to have a good amount of Rondale Moore.
Yeah, exactly right.
Matt, what about you, Rondale Moore?
Yeah, I think this is a good moment too, where we need to make sure we contextualize what Neil is saying for the types of tournaments he's trying to take down.
Good to have you here.
Because ultimately, Rondale Moore looks like a fantastic points per dollar play, a good cash option. But Neil's trying to take down a millie. Neil's trying to win those big prizes, and he keeps on doing it. I'll take one of those W's, please, just one. But ultimately, this is the leverage game that Neil is so fantastic at playing. I still think Rondale Moore needs solid usage in this offense for this offense to turn things around. And ultimately, in our tools, he looks really, really good. As just like a single one-off play, if you said, who's the best value in a vacuum, skill position players, you might actually say Rondale Moore.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, I appreciate having Matt on these shows to contextualize, because I need to shout it out probably like 5 times each show. I'm talking about the largest field GPs. Everything that I'm talking about, I'm playing that it's only 500,000 the first today. It's no longer a milli, I guess, with NBA ruining everything. But yeah, those types of contests are the contests that I'm playing. So that's a good context there from Matt.
Wait, you're still going to play even though it's only 500,000?
I think I'm gonna waste my time on this 500,000 the first contest. Yeah.
All right. I expected more.
Yeah,
Pierre with a $10 super chat. Pierre, you're coming in with season-long questions, man. All right, that's okay. Appreciate it. Season-long question. Matt, actually, this is perfect. Matt,
exactly.
Heads up our fantasy football product and the fantasy football channel. So, Pierre, I would definitely suggest checking that out as well. Stokastic fantasy football videos all day, all the time, every week. Season-long, non-PPR, so standard league. Pick 2 running backs, Kamara, Pierce, Ramondre Stevenson, or Mixon.
This is tough because you have a good running back core.
Yeah,
it sounds like Dameon Pierce is going to play. I'm starting Kamara tonight for sure. And to be honest, it's probably Mixon against the Falcons defense that is still bottom 6 against the running back in adjusted fantasy points allowed. And Pierre, I got one more great hint for you. The Stokastic Fantasy Football channel is answering questions live up till lock right now. Over on our partner channel, Nick Lepre, my partner in crime over there at Notorious Fantasy, is doing the Notorious Fantasy Hour every Thursday night. So if you want to check out our brother channel, definitely do it. I'm over there as well. We hang out every weekday morning. We have a lot of fun. So see you there, Pierre.
Very nice. We had another super chat asking. All right, here's an interesting question. So, asking, and this one, Neil, we'll throw this to you. Gackel says, I always struggle with your name, but thanks for super chat. Can you explain how Kamara and Eno Benjamin project the same? I get the matchup is better for Benjamin, but Kamara usage is much higher and he is better overall.
Yeah, so I mean, it is the matchup, and Eno Benjamin's usage is just so high. He is involved in the passing game for the Cardinals. It's admittedly a better question for Alex and Steve and the guys who do the projections, because I don't know all that goes into the projections, but it is just the better matchup and the involvement being pretty similar. And as I said, with running backs, it's really more about opportunity than it is talent. Generally, I mean, obviously talent helps. I'm not trying to say that talent doesn't help, but opportunity is king at running back. So Eno Benjamin is getting that opportunity. he doesn't have to compete with Mark Ingram the way Alvin Kamara does. So, Alvin Kamara gives up to Mark Ingram, and then also Taysom Hill. Like, you add in the Taysom Hill goal line factor, there are a lot of different backs eating into Alvin Kamara's opportunities when it counts, particularly in the red zone, whereas Eno Benjamin doesn't have quite that same threat.
All right, good stuff. Any other wide receivers we want to hit on for Arizona, Matt?
I hope not. I hope there's no one else that I suddenly forgot about, but this wide receiver core is in flux. That's all we can really say here. And I think that means that there's a lot of opportunities to get different with a team in the Cardinals that, at least on paper, should be able to produce pretty well. Some explosive performances. It's been few and far between this year.
Sure has. All right, Neil, let's talk about the New Orleans Saints. This is a wide receiver position that it's not fun to talk about. You have no Michael Thomas. You have no Jarvis Landry. These guys have been sidelined for a while now. Surprise, surprise when it comes to Michael Thomas. But Keith Kirkwood was just cut. All right, so now you have Chris Olave's back. That's good, coming off that concussion. Traquan Smith, Rashid Shaheed, Kevin White, Marquez Callaway. I'm going out of order in terms of depth chart, but once you get past Olave, I'm not sure what order matters. Of course, we'll get in the routes run, we'll get in the snap counts, and we can make the decision based on that. But it's slim pickings here behind Chris Olave.
Yeah, so Olave is somebody I'm looking at the last crunch I did on DraftKings, and I'm realizing I really need to recrunch both with Olave, and then the Mark Ingram discussion has me thinking I probably need to get to more Mark Ingram as well. But Olave is the pretty clear wide receiver one for the Saints. He had games, I feel like he had a couple back-to-back where he had like 13 targets, something ridiculous like that. Not as much in the past couple games, but he's the wide receiver one with no Michael Thomas in town, no Jarvis Landry. He's the pretty clear, and he's facing this terrible Arizona defense. I definitely need to get to a bit more Chris Olave, and the tools love him. 8.1% projected ownership, 9% chance of being in the optimal captain, 33% projected ownership in the util, 37% chance of being optimal in the util. Chris Olave looks fantastic. It's a great spot against this Cardinals defense. He's the pretty clear wide receiver one. And then the secondary options, I'm calling them both secondary options here. I think that my preference is for Marquez Callaway over Traquan Smith, just because they project almost identically and you get price savings for Callaway, and the ownership doesn't quite reflect the price savings to the extent that I think it should. We do have slightly more ownership on Callaway than Traquan Smith, but it's pretty nominal and there is pretty big price savings there. So I'm probably going to get to more Marquez Callaway than Traquan Smith. I think their roles are fairly similar. Matt, do you see it any differently there?
So when I really have trouble figuring this out, I look at weighted opportunity rating, which is just share of team targets and share of team air yards. And between weeks 4 and 6, there's actually a clear difference. Marquez Callaway, obviously less than Chris Olave in the games that they've played together, but Marquez Callaway is up there in terms of weighted opportunity rating with Alvin Kamara in this offense. Now, I don't think we should project Callaway near Kamara, obviously, but it's been way ahead of Traquan Smith. So to me, it looks like it's really touchdown potential for Traquan Smith. Callaway over Smith for me if you're just asking 1v1.
Love it.
If you were to rank these wide receivers, Matt, right behind Olave, well, talk to me about Olave too, because I know you had mentioned a few things prior to the show about him as well.
This scares me, man. This is all I can say about the Cardinals defense is that they've had holes, right? They're 24th in Football Outsiders pass DVOA, 12th in yards allowed per pass attempt, but in schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed this year, they are number 5 against the wide receiver position. They have figured out wide receiver ones in particular this year, especially outside wide receivers. So I hope that the Saints get creative, move Olave into the slot where the Cardinals have been susceptible. But ultimately, I think Olave has more downside here than people might realize. I'm not going to full fade him, but I'm probably just going to be with the field on him. Again, it goes back to what we say, or I've said like 4 times already. Olave has a chance at 35 to 40 points in a way that very few people on this one game slate do. And then we're kind of, looking for scraps after that.
Yeah, Juwan Johnson, baby.
I don't hate it.
No, I don't hate it at all. We'll talk about that in just a second. But to round this out then at wide receiver, we needed to spend a lot of time at this position. Matt, I was just going to ask your if you were to rank these guys in New Orleans. I'm sure a lot of people are scratching their heads looking at this depth chart. I know you said you have one ahead of the other, but how would you rank all of them tonight if people are really dumpster diving?
It's still Olave at 1, right? In terms of probability of ceiling.
And just usage,
Yeah. Don't take, what I'm saying too far. Then it's Callaway. Then it's Smith. Oh, man. And then I probably would say Shaheed, but I don't feel good about it. I'd rather play tight ends after that, to be honest. I don't think Kevin White, outside of the largest of large field tournaments, is viable.
Neil, how would you rank these guys?
So to be honest with you, Shaheed has not even been on my radar. Maybe I need to look into Shaheed a little bit more. He's not somebody. Okay. Does he see any snaps? I was going to get back to my because I hadn't even seen him on the snap chart. He had not occurred to me, but that's also because we had Kirkwood in our projections earlier. I thought Kirk was going to be active. Now he's not active. I was thinking about playing some Kevin White, but maybe I need to be thinking about Shaheed as well. But yeah, for me, it's the exact same order. It's Olave first, Callaway second, Traquan Smith third, and then if you want to play somebody else, I guess you could consider Shaheed or Kevin White. But I don't have a strong feeling about those guys.
All right, tight ends. Normally, that's kind of a boring position. But
sorry, can I add one thing? Sorry, before we move on. Apparently, this play that he scored on, Shaheed, was a fly sweep that they drew up for this undrafted rookie and practiced several times all week. Now, of course, they practice lots of plays, but that raises my antenna that they're just trying to create plays for a rookie, and then he goes out and scores on it, making 2 solid moves in the process that usually might gain you a little extra snap share.
Yeah, like I said, they're so limited as far as weapons go. Now, granted, Olave joined Thomas and Jarvis Landry on the sidelines last week. At least he's back. So that's the question: is now that Olave is back, does Shaheed play a single offensive snap?
Could I throw a question at you, Matt? Do you have a preference between Shaheed and Greg Dortch?
Oh man,
neither.
The answer is probably neither, right? Let's put it in context.
Yeah.
For the largest field GPP,
I think Greg Dortch is a straight Rondale Moore handcuff, and so Greg Dortch is 1 hammy pull away from 9 targets in the second half.
Yeah, or like Kingsbury is honestly just dumb and really does limit Hopkins to 50% of snaps.
Right. Which is possible. No Marquise Brown.
No.
Maybe Robbie Anderson's not playing a lot. I don't know.
Look, the Hopkins and Brown is basically just a 1-for-1 swap at this point. In my opinion, if we're talking, okay, does Hopkins play 97, 96% of snaps? Well, he should. I don't know if he will, but he's got, if he plays less than 75% of snaps today, that would be appalling.
But we're dealing with NFL coaches here. NFL coaches don't always make the logical decisions.
And his job is on
I think
the
it
line.
is. And his job, I think it's within the realm of possibility that DeAndre Hopkins really does not play a full snap count today.
Then I would say Dortch, just based on the fact that there's probably more opportunity for him to get on, more avenues for him to find his way on the field.
What are we calling a full snap share? More than 2/3?
Sure, yeah.
He better.
That seems reasonable.
I think he should be, unless conditioning is a concern, he should be at 65 to 75% of snaps.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I think that's the most I think we're all on the same page that most likely he's going to be playing more than 2/3 of snaps. I just think that, if they're saying that he's not, there's at least some chance, and maybe that opens up a possibility for somebody like Dortch, who has, he had some success when he did play. So I don't know, maybe I had not been playing a ton of Dortch. I'm not going to be playing a ton of Dortch. I might try to get above the field though.
All right. We got 16 minutes to go. Hit that thumb. 263 likes, almost 2,000 people watch it. Come on. Takes a single second. But no, in all seriousness, if you haven't done so yet, you guys know how much it helps us keep the lights on around here. So hit that thumbs up. Also, we're going to do tight ends and then defense and kicker, not kickers. We're going to do kicker because there's only
except for on FanDuel. They did add Blankenship to FanDuel.
Okay, good. DraftKings did not.
Yeah.
So watch, he's just going to have a monster game.
He will.
Old Ben Rasa doppelganger, huh?
Yep.
All right. Before we do that, though, I would be remiss to not tell you, dude, just throwing out free money all left and right here today. MGM right now. You guys love basketball. There's still a game that tips off tonight, or you can do it tomorrow. Doesn't matter. MGM right now is giving you $200 to put $10 on any NBA game. It's that simple on a pregame money line. That's it. You use the link in the description or the pinned comment. If you haven't signed up there yet, even if you don't like betting, you like to have money that you didn't have yesterday without having to do anything for it. Someone walks up to you on the street, says, if you give me $10, I'll give you 200. You say, yes, sir. Thank you. You run away before he changes his mind. At BetMGM with the NBA promo, which I assume is going to be gone very soon. All you do, sign up using our link description. Tyler, put that in chat. He already did. Thank you. Take that $10, put it on any money line before the game starts. I preferably would put it on it, maybe not a heavy dog, but a dog, because if you win that bet, they're still paying you out, right? And you're getting the $200 no matter what. The only thing that needs to happen is any team hits a 3. It's a lock. It's a no-brainer. It's guaranteed. If that doesn't happen, the world is coming to an end and your $10 doesn't mean shit anyway. But even if you lose that bet, as long as someone hits a 3, you got $200 that you didn't have yesterday. Worst case scenario, your downside. You go on a massive losing streak after getting the 200. You lose everything. At the end of the day, you go, damn, I lost $10. That's, yeah, I wish I had my $10 back, but it's $10. You don't lose sleep over it. Best case scenario, you go on a massive heater, 4 or 5 figures you turn it into. You got another book to play at. You could shop odds everywhere, and you didn't have to do anything to build your bankroll up. So link in the description, pin comment. It's not in New York, Pennsylvania, or Mississippi. Every other state, if you're good to go, you're good to go. Take advantage of it. Take advantage of all these promos while they're here. BetMGM, by the way, use the link in the description and in the pin comment, or sorry, chat. All right, Matt, Juwan Johnson, baby. What are we doing with our guy this week?
Well, he's the player who plays tight end on the team, right?
Yeah.
And Taysom Hill, though he has the tight end logo moniker, it's not a position he actually plays. Adam Troutman is out. Juwan Johnson has had games where he's had 6 or 7 looks. That's good enough for me. It's a decent probability outcome, but decent to low probability outcome. The salary seems fine. He's a good tournament flex play. What can we say? I'm certainly going to be over the field on him because of the touchdown upside. Not feeling great about it, but it's pretty good. I actually want to talk about the other player, which feels like a Neil Orfield special. So I'll pass it to you after this, but this JP Holtz guy, I know nothing about him.
Yeah, and I want to get into him, but
you do? Okay.
Yeah, we'll get into all of this. Yeah, we still have time. We're good.
Okay, all right. I don't want to rush things.
We're good. Listen, if we're done tight ends in like 5 minutes, we'll still give people plenty of time to get their lineups in. I'm not worried about that. Defense and kicker, that's going to take a second. We understand how that works. It's a lot different than trying to get through position players. But somebody mentioned in chat that it's Ertz or no tight end. I don't think that could be further from the truth tonight, Neil, especially given the tight end situation with Adam Troutman in New Orleans.
Yeah, no, I love Juwan Johnson tonight in particular.
I'm captaining him in some spots too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he's just going to be, he's the tight end. As Matt said, we have no Adam Troutman. He left the last game with an injury. He's going to be out for this game. So Juwan Johnson played 78% of snaps in the last game. Could play even more in this game. Of course, they do have JP Holtz. Nick Vanette, I think, is active tonight too. He was not on the inactives list. I didn't see anything that he was cut or anything. So we do have a 3 tight end rotation here, but I think Juwan Johnson is pretty clearly the guy. So yeah, I mean, he's the guy who gets targets. I'm going to be playing Juwan Johnson. Currently, I am above the field on Juwan Johnson. I think that's where I would like to be. The other guys are more questionable, how much I'm going to get to JP Holtz and Nick Vanette. I think I'll get to a little bit. I don't really trust these guys as pass catching options. They just haven't really shown much ability to get to earn targets, to score touchdowns or anything like that. But they are tight ends on Showdown. I'll probably have a few shares there.
Okay, yeah, very cheap, but that is where it ends, Matt.
Yeah.
Juwan Johnson has 3 targets of 20+ air yards. Only 10 tight ends in the league actually have hit that mark.
Not bad.
7 expected fantasy points per game. That means if you just get the normal usage and you fall into the end zone, you're looking at 12, 13 points. That's going to be just fine.
Yeah, he could suck too. Like he could, obviously, any of these guys could just have bad games. But the opportunity cost is very low for a guy like Johnson, especially with Adam Troutman out. I don't see any. You know what? I would go as far to say, as far as low end players go, like 3K and lower, I don't think there's a better play than Juwan Johnson.
I think that might be true. I'm looking through real quick.
Like AJ Green. I think Juwan Johnson's a better play than AJ Green.
I think you're right. You're right.
I'm getting to more of Juwan Johnson than AJ Green. I think I'm with you there.
Any other tight ends we want to talk about for New Orleans? Let's go to Arizona. Unless Matt, you wanted to get into this Holtz guy.
I kind of do.
Well,
it feels like a Neil.
I want to hear what you have to say. To be honest,
fire away.
So Gajeski made sure to say that this is a clear delineation of Juwan Johnson being the receiving tight end, JP Holtz being the blocking tight end. JP Holtz is a blocker, but that doesn't mean that he can't just fall into the end zone at one play. We're talking about a player with a 36 or so % snap share, most likely has not seen a target all season. Wouldn't it be the most 2022 showdown thing ever for him to be the one that falls into the end zone on his first target of the season?
Yeah, no, I'm on the same page as you there. I'm going to be playing some JP Holtz. I currently actually have, I guess this is kind of, I have them projected the same. JP Holtz and Nick Van Nett. I honestly cannot distinguish between these two. I have no reason to. I think JP Holtz just has not shown any ability to earn targets, and Nick Van Nett at least has a few in his career. So it's hard for me to really decide that I like either of these guys. I'm going to play some just in case that fluke happens, but I don't really have a strong feeling on these guys like I do with Juwan Johnson. I think is an actual excellent play. These two guys are more like, maybe in the largest field tournament, they could fall into the end zone.
Neil, what do you want to do with Zach Ertz?
I mean, Zach Ertz looks phenomenal. He is getting ownership. It looks like currently I am actually below the field on Zach Ertz, but that's something that if I ended up getting above the field, I would prefer that, to be honest. He looks good in our tools. 8% projected ownership in the captain spot, 9% optimal in the captain spot, 34% projected ownership in the util spot, 41% optimal. He has just been a target machine. If you look at Zach Ertz's game log, he's had, I want to go find my article because I wrote up about him, how many games he's had with double-digit targets. It's like 2 or 3 in a row. He's just been a target monster, and Kyler loves him. I don't know. Do we have any concerns that DeAndre Hopkins is going to eat into Zach Ertz's target share?
Maybe if Marquise Brown was still active.
Yeah.
They're different types of players, but they were using Marquise Brown everywhere too. Like if you looked at Marquise Brown ADOT against the Eagles, it's not like he was only getting deep balls. So
yeah, true.
Yeah, Zach Ertz, number 1 among all tight ends in total routes run, number 1 in slot snaps, number 2 in route participation rate, number 3 in total targets, number 3 in expected fantasy points. So if you're telling me that the usage profile moves from tight end 3 to say tight end 6 because DeAndre Hopkins is there, yeah, I think that's very reasonable, but we're still talking about a player who played 98% of snaps in week 5 against Philly, 97% of snaps against Seattle. And like you said, double-digit target upside is very hard to find in a one-game slate. He's definitely got it. And with the team with more implied points and probably the most secure role, we could probably say, in the Arizona receiving core, I think he's a great bet tonight.
If you're a hand builder and you have one spot to go, Matt, and it's larger field, a tournament, maybe not the Millie, but a decent size, right? And you come down to, you go, okay, I have 7,000 left, 7,400, let's say. Would you go Ertz or Olave in the final spot, assuming you could go with either quarterback?
Assuming I could go with either quarterback, it's actually Ertz by a hair. Okay. That's what the median projection says. I think this, like, if you're playing for true ceiling, like you're trying to beat Neil tonight, then maybe I understand why you go Olave in a vacuum. But Ertz, especially in the flex position, one of the highest leverage plays on the slate.
All right. Anything else here, fellas, or do we wrap it up with a little defense and kicker?
No, I think we've said all we really need to say. Trey McBride only he had 1 game with 3 targets. Those are his only targets on the year. I'm looking under the field right now. We have McBride at 4.3% projected ownership. I'm under that. I think we can basically move on.
All right, let's do it. Defense kicker. Will Lutz, I think, is perfectly fine. I have no problems with either defense if you want. I don't love the defense as much as I've loved in some of these other Thursday games, but never really a huge issue with them either, Neil.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I don't have a strong take on these defenses. The Cardinals at 4,400, pretty expensive, but they might still be my preferred defense here. It's hard for me to have a hot take. They're both projected for 17% ownership. I'm actually under the field on both defenses right now. I think I'm happy to be under the field on these defenses at 17% ownership. Not much. I'm still getting, teens ownership. They're just not. I'm not taking a huge stand on either of these. Matt, do you have a different take here?
I think they have at most like a 1 in 5 chance of being in the optimal lineup with a maybe 1% chance of being an optimal captain. Is that fair? It's a 1-game slate. Defenses tend to have some natural volatility. That means they can hit a ceiling. But both of these defenses have shown significant holes. You're kind of just chasing the randomness of defensive turnovers and touchdowns, which obviously could happen. If you're looking for the better point per dollar play, it's technically the Saints by a nose.
I got my lineups in. You good, Neil?
Working on it.
Oh,
got
all
4
right.
minutes.
All right.
No, I have a set in there. I'm working on it a little bit. I'm updating a little bit, but yeah, we're good.
All right. So we're gonna build a lineup here. We still got 1,500 people with us. So let's have some fun with this. Let's win some money. And before we build this lineup, remember, No House Advantage link is in there. $50 first match deposit bonus. All the tools that we have are completely free. Lineup generator, player prop tools, odd shopper help you massively. Their props are static. They don't change throughout the day. You got 10 for 10 hardwood, right? Yeah. Not hardwood, HAR. Just use the link. Tyler can
tell if he's doing this on purpose.
Yeah, $10. Now I'm getting it mixed up. $10 for 10 days.
Oh, I thought it was a bit.
I did. No. I wasn't sure.
No. I was a bit until right now when I started getting it wrong. And then of course, BetMGM 10 into 200. I mean, that's just a killer promo. All of them in there. Just bet any NBA game when you deposit $10 using the link. Any NBA team to win, you get $200 no matter what. All right. Lineup time. Let's go large field. Neil, actually, Matt, I'll have you kick it off. Captain spot. Who do you want to go with?
Eno Benjamin looks great from a usage standpoint, and I know we'd rather have the safety of Kamara or one of the quarterbacks, but let's try to win a tournament. Eno Benjamin has the ceiling tonight.
All right. I'm going to open it up for you, Neil. I'm going Juwan Johnson here.
Love it. I thought you were opening up to me, and I was about to say Juwan Johnson. So
yeah, no,
we are on the same page there.
For you. You can go wherever you want now.
Yes, I can. Let's see here. I mean, we talked about how much we like Marquez Callaway. Let's go there.
Ooh, okay.
All right. You guys did. I didn't. But no, if they do shut Olave down like they've done, it's not crazy. All right, Matt, we got about 10,000 per player remaining.
10,000 per player. It's going to be popular, but let's just go with the best points per dollar skill player, Rondale Moore.
All right. Well, we got 2 pass catchers for
QB time.
Maybe large field tournament. Maybe it's a Kamara fade. Maybe we go Dalton here. I'm going to go Dalton. Maybe it's a Dalton game. We'll see. Neil, last one. You get 15,000 almost remaining. Anybody on the board?
I'm just going to Kyler.
All right. Kyler. You got Kyler. And you could also look Kamara, Hopkins there, whoever you want.
Yeah.
That's a nice looking lineup.
It is. Hey, Matt at Draftaholic is where you find him. And everything over on the Fantasy Football channel. Neil at Player Q DFS. Check out all of his Showdown work, all that content, videos, articles that he's putting out. They'll help you win some money. Follow me at Lafayette_D. And remember, over on the Odd Shopper channel, we got every pick for every game, football, baseball, basketball, doesn't matter. Appreciate you guys. Good luck today. Let's win some money. And hey, we'll catch you back here tomorrow with the strategy show all the way up until Sunday. Culminates in a 4-hour live before lock. All over 4 hours, like 4.5 now, right here on the channel. Peace.